family dinner. That's what I see. And I'm touched by how many people here know my family.
All right, yeah.
Through the links, people who know my family through the Urban League. Some of you all know my family because my grandmother's got a reputation of knowing which slot machines will pay off. I made a lot of money just following her around and using her 6 cents. So I just want to say first and foremost how grateful I am to be here. Pastor, I am honored to be in your church, and I want to recognize and bring you greetings from my pastor, who was a remarkable man himself. So thank you. I couldn't help but listen to the homegoing services. Was that you preaching in the homegoing service? Yeah. No, sir, no, it wasn't. But what I noticed when I came in this church is this is the right kind of church. You know, some churches you just see activity on a Sunday. Real church is about making them community centers, places for people to come together, and that's how I was raised. He said, boy, your religion, it should fuel you, it should encourage you, it should inspire you, but faith without works is dead. And so you need to show people you're a Christian, not by what you say, how loud you can scream Jesus. You need to show people you're a Christian by your love, by your kindness, by your generosity, by your service, by your sacrifice. And so this church has that kind of spirit. Pastor, I'm very happy. Thank you for letting me be here. I have this joke I've now repeated in about 24 states that I visited during this campaign, and it's my way of giving respect to state party chairs. And you all have a state party chair who's here, and now she's going to get punished by my joke. Okay. And so my joke is very simple. There's an old joke that says that state party chair people are just like the presidents of cemeteries. They have many people underneath them, but folk don't listen that well. And the truth of the matter is, the state party chairperson has one of the hardest jobs in all of politics, because there's no glory in it, there's no glamour in it. You're working to herd a bunch of cats and get everybody moving in the same direction. And this state being one of the most important states in the nation right now, you all are the battleground states. This has got to be the James Brown of state party chair people, the hardest working person in the business. And I thank you for your leadership. So, and now let me just, I don't want, first of all, where's the state senator? He's just here. I see a beautiful wife and kids over there, but where'd he go?
He's on the campaign.
He's on the campaign trail. Well, let me say to his two handsome young men, and I know you have a daughter too, right?
She's in school where she belongs.
She's in school. How did you guys get out?
Staff Development Day.
Oh, staff Development Day. I understand. Well, let me just say to you, you guys have a phenomenal state senator. I know he's serving the community well, but we need him in Congress.
Yes, we do.
The thing about this state is you have a state that is important for the president.
Yeah.
You have a Senate race going on.
Yeah.
You have congressional races going on. Yeah. There are Democrats up and down the ballot that are in the trenches fighting. This is, again, why you're state party chairman. I'm sure you're all over your trip. I need your freaking flyer mile. You're probably hopping all around the state, driving all around the state. So just to the state senator, county commissioner, to all the leadership that's here, the good pastor, I don't want to be with you long, and I can't. This is the best thing to do. When my pastor has to catch a plane, I know it's always going to be a good short sermon. Okay. and so I got to catch a plane, so I want to be short and sweet and to the point and answer any questions you all might have, because I've been running high, running low, from Washington to Florida, from coast to coast, talking about this campaign and the urgency. And I simply want to start with just one simple metaphor and a true story. 4 years ago, it was probably one of the most exciting moments for me to get a chance to vote for Barack Obama. Now, there were lines of polls I had never seen before. And I get to my polling site, and I don't know, County Commissioner, I don't know how they treat elected officials in Nevada. I just don't know how they treat them here. In Newark, one of the reasons I love my city is because they keep it real. And so you would think, as I'm walking up on this historic day, while I'm walking up to the poll, you think you would have just people shouting, "Glory, hallelujah, Mayor, it's good to see you." No. I walk up to this line wrapped around the building. The first thing the woman at the end of the line looks at me and says, "Don't you think you're cutting in this line?" I don't care who you are. You ain't special, you're waiting like the rest of us. And so I stand on the line like, yes, ma'am. I'm married, yes, ma'am. And I stand on the end of the line, and my staff is blowing up my phone. I had so many places to be that day, that election day, and I get mad at them. I go, what, do you think I'm special? I'm waiting here in line. I'm not cutting lines. Stop bothering me. I get to the front of the line, and there is this commotion going on. Now, this woman is screaming at the poor poll worker. Now, as the one job that might compete with the tough job or your state party chairman has is being a poll worker. Now this is like I don't know about your translation using the Bible in this church. My church on the Sermon on the Mount, God says God made the meek will inherit the earth. Yeah. God bless. You know, He also says God bless the poll workers. Yeah. They shall inherit the kingdom of God. They're suffering so much. I don't know if your translation says that. My translation talks about poll workers. Poll workers. And it's because they have the worst. And I don't know what you feed them here, but you know, in my state it's just like 2 pieces of bread, some bologna. The mayo is not Hellman's, no Miracle Whip. It's just some kind of generic brand on there. And that's all they get. So these poor poll workers are sitting behind the table and they're being yelled at by this woman who says to them, I don't care if my name is not in that book, I'm not leaving here till I vote for Barack Obama. They look at me, I'm a man of authority, I control a police force of over 1,000 men and women. And they look at me like sheepishly, like help me. And I look at them. And I look at her, and I say, she's not leaving here! She's going to Obama! Now, 1 year later, in New Jersey, we have an election to the day. 1 year later, we have an election for governor in the state of New Jersey. Now, you all don't know who my governor is. I'm so sorry. He's so soft-spoken. Well, that was that election. We are a blue state. Okay? We are a state with 700,000 more registered Democrats than Republicans. I go to vote on that day. There is no line. I go to vote on that day. I walk in and the poll workers, this time I felt sorry for them because they look so lonely. So this shows you, we lost that race in New Jersey by 68,000 votes. If my urban base, Patterson, Atlantic City, Camden, Newark, came out and voted at 75% of the turnout that we had in 2008, you all wouldn't know who my governor is. Right. And so my point to you all is simply this. There is this powerful question I hear asked all the time. I hear it. You all know. Things go bad. I have the most non-praying friends. They never call on God. But as soon as things go bad, they're like, oh, Jesus! Save me! It reminds me of this story. Pastor, I'm going to get in trouble. You're not going to invite me back after I tell you. I might not be welcome in the church anymore. But Pastor, I can tell you this story. This story has a high level of truthiness. It's like this church in my city. They have a pastor that had 2 kids were cutting up all the time in church. And everybody, the head of the deacons tried to intervene. Nothing. He couldn't get them to behave. The head of the deaconesses could not get him to behave. The head of the choir, sick of being interrupted in his songs by these 2 hard-headed boys, he interrupted. I'm not talking about you fellas. Get all worried. I'm not talking about you guys. Okay. All right? But they're about your age. Okay. And they look a lot like you. But they are not you. And so the pastor, you know this pastor, sometimes you got to just take matters in your own hand. You're the head of the church. So he takes these 2 boys down to the pastor's office. By the way, it's right around the corner, fellas. And sits one outside. And sits the other one down in front. And the two boys, one's just now separated from his brother outside. The boy just sits there, and he's got his arms crossed, face on pastor, staring at the pastor down. The pastor sits behind his desk and thinks to himself, I got to try something different. So he just stares at them back, and they stare at each other for a while. And then the pastor just puts his hand on the Bible and rubs the Bible for a few moments and says very patiently, my son, well is gone. And the boy's just eyes snapped open. And now Pastor had his attention completely. The boy's just looking at him. Pastor thinks, oh, this is working. Now, I don't know about you, Pastor, but my pastor, if he feels something's working, he doubles down on that. He doubles down. I don't know if that's a blackjack term or he's first starting the Bible in the church, but he doubles down a little bit. And so he picks up the Bible. And he gives a little more emphasis this time. He goes, my son, tell me now, well is gone. Okay. And now the boy looks frightened. He grabs an arm of the chair. He starts shaking from head to toe. Pastor's so excited. He's like, oh, finally, I'm getting through to him. That deacon couldn't do anything. I'll show him how to get. So he stands up now. He picks up the Bible. He waves it in front of the boy, leans over his desk, looks down on the young man and says, my son, tell me right now, what is gone? Okay. At this point, the boy jumps up out of his chair, sprints out of the pastor's office, grabs his little brother by the hand and says, man, we got to get out of here. God is missing him. The pastor thinks we took him. When the crisis happens, when the trouble befalls you, you want to scream out and say, where are you, Jesus? Rescue me! Rescue me! When you don't realize, the question never was, where was God? The question, where were you when your problem started? When people in Newark complained to me, their earned income tax credit was cut. When people complained to me, Planned Parenthood was cut, closing doors in New Jersey. When people complain to me about these things, I remind them, don't you dare blame the governor. Yeah. You got to look in the mirror. Yeah. You can't complain if you don't vote. And we didn't vote. Yeah. And so what I need folks to understand in this election, we got the power. It's clear. Your state party chairman knows it. She's not worried that they might have more people. Because when you worry that, you try dirty tricks. When you know you don't got the people, you got to try tricks, right? It's called voter suppression, otherwise known as voter identification laws. Okay? If you know you don't have the population, you start trying crazy stuff. Our problem is not that. We know we have the majority. We know we've got the edge. I talked to Stephen before. He knows in his district he's got the edge. The question for that is not whether we got enough votes. Are they going to come out? Do they get caught up, and this is a fancy term I use all the time, I call it a state of sedentary agitation. When you are all upset in your seat, getting all upset about what you're seeing on TV, you're getting, Rachel Maddow's got you all excited, and all you can do is scream and yell, but you don't realize that there's a call to action. And you got to get up and do something. Alice Walker said the most common way people give up their power is not realizing they have it in the first place. And so the call is clear. This election is going to be about choices. Now, I have to say, I'm getting kind of frustrated because they're not putting any specifics out there on the plan. If somebody tells you that you can have everything, you can have all the tax cuts you want, and they're going to be waiting for the wealthiest people. Oh, by the way, military, we're going to increase military spending. Oh, we're gonna do everything you want. And by the way, how am I gonna do it? I'm not gonna tell you that. I'm not gonna tell you that. I learned some magic from some show out here on the strip. I got some hocus pocus. I got some mojo you don't know. You can't believe that. You can't believe that. We've got Obama who's telling us, let me show you what the plan is. Now, the only evidence I can get on this side is what the running mate did, what Ryan did. You all remember the Ryan budget?
We do.
Okay? I saw the things that they want to cut in the Ryan budget. And these are things from a very pragmatic fiscal analysis I scratch my head on. Because I got something to tell you all. I'm kind of conservative when it comes to the dollars and cents too. I tell you, I know who's conservative, your pastor is. He's got to run a church. He's got to keep the lights on. Okay? He's got to make sure that all the things that we enjoy in this church are paid for. So he's a fiscal conservative. He's going to squeeze every penny until the buffalo squeals. Okay? So my point is this. I'm kind of the same way. I'm dealing with taxpayer dollars. But I know what Obama knows. That when you invest taxpayer, you can't cut your way out of this problem. When you invest in doubling Pell Grants, what do? You get a more educated workforce that becomes more productive, that brings more to the economy, that grows the economy. You get a return on the investment. When you invest in infrastructure, back in the Depression, they built something. You guys ever hear of the Hoover Dam?
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
They built that during the Depression.
Yeah.
We're still getting returns on that infrastructure investment now. Well, look at other stuff. Head Start program. You send kids to school without good nutrition? Are they going to learn, grow? No. So I'm a big person that believes I'm a fiscal conservative in the sense that I believe anything government does, we should invest in things we get a return on, and if we're not getting any return, it's not making any sense, it's not invested in. So Obama says the same thing. I'm going to cut what we need to cut to reduce our deficit by $4 trillion, but I'm also going to invest. I saw Mitt Romney in the Republican debates. You all remember the Republican debates?
Yeah, we remember
999?
Yeah.
You all remember that stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, they asked all the Republican candidates, one of which was Romney. And they said, would you give up $9 of tax cuts for $1 of revenue increase? And they all said no. Because they don't live in a balance sheet analysis.
No.
They live on the extremes of what Romney called himself being severely conservative.
Yeah.
And I don't live that way. I'm a pragmatist. I want to know what's going to grow my economy, balance our budgets, and drive us forward as a nation. This is why I'm so have such allegiance to my president, because he has the same kind of pragmatic way of thinking. And so the kind of things that I heard in the Ryan budget that they're going to cut SBA loans, Head Start, Planned Parenthood, infrastructure investments, new energy investments, all of these things, Pell Grants, all of these programs that create opportunity for everyone, that level the playing field, that mine our country, not just for oil and gas, but for the most valuable natural resource we have, which is the young people in our community, the brains and the genius of our children.
Yeah.
And so, for our community, we need to start realizing that this is what's on the line. And Obama is not going to be the guy that delivers it because he does not have 58 million votes. He has one. We know from our experience that all the great change in America is made from the grassroots up. This election is going to have to be delivered by us. And I'm telling you right now, if Nevada goes red, the story is not going to be what the Republicans did. It will be what we did not do. It's as simple as that. And so we in this room, who are already a part of this choir, this congregation, we've got to sing a song of a chorus of conviction, calling to the conscience of our community, that this election will determine the destiny of our country for years to come. And will we stay faithful to the ideals that got us so far? I know what got me here. You generously read off my resume. My father used to say, boy, you got more degrees than a thermometer, but you ain't hot. You ain't hot. He told me, son, you need to understand. You're here, you don't walk around here like you're special. You walk around here like you hit a triple. You were born on third base. Let me tell you about what had it all go on to get you to where you are. My father used to say, well, you drink deeply, boy, from wells of freedom and opportunity that you did not dig. You eat lavishly from banquet tables that were prepared for you by your ancestors. You sit comfortably under the shade of trees that you didn't plant. You're here because folks struggled. They made a way out of no way. They were given nothing. My grandfather used to always say to me, he said, boy, go to the doctor. When you got a cut, we just got some cobwebs out. Put them on the cut. Anybody know what I'm talking about in here? Somebody know what I'm talking about? I remember my mom told me, we used to have asphyxity bags around here. What's an asphyxity bag? I don't know what you're talking about. My grandfather says, you know why we call that an ice box? I don't know, Granddad. He goes, we used to have to carry blocks of ice up and put it in a box. That's how we did it. Remember where you came from. That's right. My mother and father used to always say, son, you are the result of a conspiracy of love. People whose names you'll never be able to enumerate that came together to support you. My father just took me to the town he grew up in. He was born to a single mother. Mounds of North Carolina. Small town called Hendersonville. when he couldn't, because Mama couldn't take care of him, the Pilgrim family took him in. There was funeral home operators in that town. People didn't let him flail. They were there for him. It was time to go to college. People put little dollar bills in envelopes to help him pay his first semester's tuition at North Carolina Central University. I got to be my mom's speaker at Fisk University this year for her 50th reunion. I was a commencement speaker at her 50th reunion. And she took me the night before around the tables and introduced me to people and said, you know, moms have this way of going, son, gentlemen, you're going to get older. You're going to be like 40 years old. Your mom's going to still treat you like you're 10. And she'd take me around like a little boy. And I'm like, Mom, I'm a man. Or treat me like a man. She's like, I need to wipe your nose. Come over here. And she would say, pay attention. This is the one that led our voter registration drive. You remember when it was dangerous to register people to vote? You all remember Goodwin and Cheney? She said that this is the person this is a black collar, I didn't know this, this person would risk expulsion because they were going out there leading a boycott of a local business. These people, I don't know their names, but because of down here. We talked about the Urban League before, that's how my parents got their first job. Folks who came together and said, we're going to get these companies to hire blacks. My parents in Washington, D.C. My father was one of the first blacks hired by Sinclair Oil, one of the first blacks hired by a department store. Then the two of them, thanks to advocacy from the Urban League, became two of the first blacks hired by IBM. These are black folks, white folks coming together. When I moved into New Jersey, my parents worked with the Fair Housing Council. This conspiracy of love, people in basements and living rooms plotting against housing discrimination. All along the way of my life story, there were people there. My mom's side is the same thing in Detroit, Michigan. Telling stories about what it was. My grandmother, who's here in Vegas now, coal miners up in Iowa, what those communities were like. This is our history. We never got into sedentary agitation. We never waited for change to come. We prayed on Sundays, and we worked on Mondays. Frederick Douglass said something like, he said, I prayed for years for my freedom, and I was still a slave. It wasn't until I started praying with my hands and praying with my feet that I found my salvation. And so we can't talk anymore. We got to work.
That's right.
The truth of the matter is, right now, more than ever, we face another type of slavery in America. I'm not missing words here. I like church music. I like a little reggae too. Bob Marley used to always say, "Emancipate yourself from mental slavery." You guys know that one? Yeah. None but yourself. Somebody work with me. Nobody?
Don't know the words.
Don't know the words. Well, he was talking about emancipating yourself from mental slavery. The slavery of today, we know what the slavery of years ago was. Slavery of today is kids who are having their potential confined, being chained to mediocrity or worse, because they don't have access to other higher institutions of learning. They don't have access to good quality public schools. There's work to do that's just as urgent as a generation ago. So I want to go back to where I started. This doesn't count as a visit. This counts as a family dinner. I want to come back.
Yes.
And I don't know if it's going to be or if it's going to be after the election, party president. But I owe the state something. You know, my grandfather spent his last days in this state. And I would come out and visit him to Las Vegas, and I'll end with this. I would come out and visit him in Las Vegas, and my grandfather was one of the funniest men I ever met. He was at every one of my graduations from 8th grade on up. And I would get the same jokes from 8th grade on up. He'd come up to me at the end of graduation and say, "You see, boy, the tassel's worth the hassle." And then he would tease me. He'd say, "I see here you're not magna cum laude, summa cum laude, you're just thank you laude. I'm out of here." I made it through. Okay, granddad, okay. And he was one that taught me a deep, deep, passionate love of America. This man would pile all his grandchildren in a mobile home. It was beat up, but he told me how attitude is everything. Look at this. It was a green mobile home. Ugly. Puke green. And he would say, "Look at the green dream." And we would ride across the country in this thing. The air conditioner would go out, and he'd say, "Look, I got y'all a sauna." Only the rich people get a sauna. And we And he would tell me, this man saw the worst of our country. He saw bigotry and hatred, and he loved this country still because he saw it as a country that had the ability to heal, to evolve, to grow. He loved America black and white. He loved all of America gay and straight. He said we are all one. We may not have the same religion, background, but we are one people that share the same ideology, that together we can make a better place. And so he said, I'll never forget, we were driving through Arizona though. Driving to Yuma, Arizona. I'm like, Granddad, why do they call this Yuma, Arizona? He's like, if he couldn't find good history to inspire us, he'd make it up. That's what they call this Yuma, Arizona, because two men had a gunfight. One man shot the other man. And he grabbed his chest and yelled, Yuma! And so, I saw this titan of a man beat cancer down once, came back, he beat cancer down. I'm like, cancer don't mess with my granddad. He was beating it down. Last time I saw him, he was on another round of prostate cancer, metastasizing parts of his body. And I came and saw this giant of a man reduced in a bed. And I remember the last words we exchanged at that moment. I said, I love you, Granddad. And he says to me, I love you, I love your children, and I love your grandchildren. And I walked out thinking to myself, the dementia's got this man, because I'm looking for a girlfriend. I don't have any children. Therefore, I don't have grandchildren. And I wrote it up. I had I got to kiss him on his forehead, and I left. And I'm in the middle of my first big race for mayor. I'm in 2002. I'm running, and a documentary was made about it called Street Fight. You clap, but it won the Tribeca Film Festival, that nominated for an Academy Award, and then it lost to a show, March of the Darn Penguins. That's what it lost. Pastors would pray for me because I now hate penguins. I'm sorry, God wants me to love, but I hate those rodents. But in the middle of that election, I get a call. I'll never forget exactly where I was, 18th Avenue in Newark. And I get a call saying I should call my grandmother because my grandfather's died. And I didn't do what I was told. I pulled over the side of the road. I remember that a young friend of mine named Jimmy was with me, and I just started crying through the dashboard. And I lost my life hero. And I was searching for something to hold on to because I was singing. And suddenly I thought about his last words, and I remembered what he said. I love you, I love your children, and I love your grandchildren. And then I realized, I said, wait a minute. Those weren't the words of dementia. Those were the words of wisdom, because he lived a life where he loved so much that he loved generations yet unborn. And that whoever my children may one day be, they will feel that love. That love that I have, that he gave me, will emanate through me unto them. You know, there's a story about that astrophysicists say that these stars we look at in the night sky are hundreds of millions of light years away. And some of them actually have gone out, but we still see them as if they're there because you can't destroy energy. That light is still traveling towards us. And that's who we are. God created us to be, what does Elijah say, lights unto nations. And the problem is so many of us are playing small. When we don't participate, we play small. When we don't vote, we play small. When we don't organize, we play small. We shrink from the truth of who we really are, when God did not create us to be small. Pastor, when in Genesis, when God walks into the garden and says, Adam, where are you? He doesn't need to, he's not asking where the physical Adam is. He's asking, where is this man I created in my image? Why is he shrinking from his true self? I'm just talking to us right now. Right. We've been shrinking from our true self. That's right. We're playing small. This election is a call for us to be large, to be like stars in the sky. We're called to be brilliant. We're called to manifest the glory of God on earth, to love so hard and so much that generations unborn feel our love, to love like Madam C.J. Walker loved, to love like Sojourner Truth loved, to love like Mary McLeod Bethune loved, to love like Ella Baker loved. Our kids might not know their names, but their love emanates, their lights still fill the sky. And so elections to be like this aren't about simple going in and voting in politics. No, it's about love. Will we allow the things we fight for so hard to be diminished? Or will our energy sustain the cause and the fight and the light? And so my family here, you all taking care of my grandmama so well. I appreciate that.
Yes,
I just want to say thank you to you. And take this home. Win this one. Win it for all the policy reasons I laid out. Win it in respect to our ancestors. Win it in the names of our children, yet unborn. Let's win this election. Thank you.